Our filmed journey to Snowdon begins here at Pass beside the A4086 at a height of 359 metres and just before the road descends into the pass of Llanberis. This is a very popular starting point for walkers and the large car park is often full in summer, so an early arrival is then essential. The more difficult pick track to Snowdon leaves Pass from here to join the miners' path below the high bulk glass col. At the southern end of the car park, the well-constructed miners' path heads south on an easy angled gradient and around some small rocky outcrops. This is the path that most walkers will take to Snowdon from Pass above the northern shores of the lake of Llanberis, to then join the pick track to climb to the bulk glass col to the north of Snowdon summit. So we take the miners' path that turns left after a mile to pass the small lake of Llanberis with its ruined miners' cottages alongside, to arrive at the familiar green valve house by the shores of Llanberis. Panoramic study of the enclosing hills. Up to the left or due south, the twin peaks of the Lliwedd ridge are in plain view on the high horizon. Now across the lake of Llanberis with its greenish, copper-tainted waters rises the majestic peak of Snowdon itself, about a mile and a half to the west. And on the northeast shores of Llanberis, the miners' path continues its way west. Below Lliwedd, increasingly expansive views back to the northwest reveal the true splendour of the Crib Goch and the Crib de ridge, which connects to the high bulk glass col. Also becoming more apparent as the climb continues are the dramatic precipices of Lliwedd, falling to Llanberis way below. The giant pyramid of Snowdon itself all the while gaining in majesty and stature to the west. The play of sunshine and swirling mist amongst the hills adds to the splendour and high drama of the setting. A descent is made to a short grassy col with sheer drops to the right, to then begin another steep climb to the east peak of Lliwedd at 893 metres. Above the east peak, not surprisingly, the west peak appears beyond another high col. And so, having reached the airy perch of the summit of the west peak of Lliwedd, Snowdon itself appears impressively a mile to the northwest. The track now descends steeply to the Lliwedd, where it is joined by the Lliwedd ridgewalk to Snowdon is completed by the descent from the west peak to cross the Lliwedd and Lliwedd cols, to clamber steeply up the path, which shears its way up across the southeast face of the mountain. The view back down to the col with Lliwedd beyond is shown here. The track is quite steep, ill-defined, and with ponds would be essential for safety during this part of the walk. At the top of this climb, another stone monolith is met, which provides a marker in poor weather, and is also the junction with the Wreath D path, coming up from the southwest. Snowdon's summit is then only a short 200-foot climb to the right or due north. Llanberis is a small attractive town situated on the busy A4086 Carnarvon to Capel Road by Lake Padam and at the northeast foot of Snowdon. It forms the base for most visitors intent on visiting its top, either by the popular tourist route or by the mountain railway. Besides having a good complement of shops, a bank and a post office, many of the buildings lining the town's main street offer either bed and breakfast or... At the southeast end of the town is the Snowdon Mountain Railway Complex. It offers parking facility, either steam or diesel powered, pushing single carriages of 60 passengers the 4.5 miles to the summit, the journey usually taking about an hour, and passing through 5 junctions along the way. Now, having climbed a few hundred feet and along the obvious tourist path from opposite the Victoria Hotel near the station, good views are had down to Llanberis by Lake Padam. The tourist path from Llanberis is the easiest route for walkers to Snowdon, with easy gradients, and is well constructed throughout, making more or less a beeline for the summit. Certainly in winter conditions this is the way to go for less experienced walkers. For much of its length the path runs quite near to or above and below the railway, passing underneath the line twice before arriving at the summit. The first spectacular view to open up on this approach is after passing through the second archway under the track, where the giant eastern peaks of Snowdonia appear beyond the pass of Llanberis, then way below. About 3/4 of the way to the top, and if the passengers wish to reach the summit they must walk the remaining, but should also be adequately clothed, as it will inevitably be much colder here than back down in Llanberis. This final section of the tourist route bears due south, above the railway on the steeper parts of the journey. Also, for complete safety, the train is always connected on the downhill side of the carriage. The 8-foot stone monolith here on the bulk glass at 3,258 feet marks the point at which the combined pig and miners paths emerge, above the steep zigzag section.